I'm Chief Cheryl Victorian. This is Waco PD on the beat. Whether it's crime or just getting to know the Waco Police Department, we're here to talk about things that matter most to you.
Well, hello, Waco, and welcome to Waco PD on the Beat. I'm the Public Information Officer for the Waco Police Department, Sierra Shipley.
And I'm Officer AJ Smith, the Crime Stoppers Coordinator for all of McLennan County.
That's right. And we're so excited to have you guys listening in today. We've got a really special guest. We are kind of diverting from PD just a little bit because we've got Chief Gregory Summers here with the Waco Fire Department. Thank you so much, Chief Summers.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you coming on. It's the holiday season. Holidays are in full swing now, aren't they?
That is absolutely correct. Yes.
But before we get into kind of the nitty-gritty of what we want to talk about today, let's talk about you. You've been here for now almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years.
Next March will be your second year anniversary. You'll be 2 years old.
Hopefully I start walking by then. Yeah.
That's right. But talk a little bit about yourself. Those who are listening in might not know a whole lot about you. Talk a little bit about your background.
Well, my background, I'm originally from Pine Bluff, Arkansas. I've been in the fire service I spent 34 years and 10 months at the city of Little Rock as a fire chief for the last 10 years. Thought I would retire in 2018.
Oh.
I tried it, but, I still had something left in me, so I wanted to continue to do what I love doing, and this position in Waco came available. I looked at the city of Waco, I looked at the Waco Fire Department, and I felt like it was a good fit for me. I just needed to make sure that it would be a good fit for the city, and I'm coming up on 2 years, so I feel like it was been a good fit for the city.
Must have been all right.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely. Well, you've done a great job so far, you and the fire department. Of course, we all appreciate the work that you guys do, especially during the holiday season. Is this kind of like busier times for you guys?
Well, for us, fire prevention messaging, yes, it is kind of busy for us because you got, the Christmas trees, the Christmas lights, then you got the winter safety tips that you want to convey to people. So, yeah, it's kind of busy for us. Not to mention the temperatures changing. People are bringing out their space heaters. We're having more fires. So, yes, it's kind of busy for us.
All right, so an increase in, fire safety, fire prevention. And so let's talk about that, how we can, prevent those fires from happening in our homes. What would you say is the biggest between the Christmas trees, the Christmas lights, the heaters, the cooking? What would you say kind of causes the biggest increase or reason?
Space heaters. Space heaters are probably one of our biggest causes because you got that space heater and you got to space it a certain distance away from your curtains, from your bed. And, of course, if you're cold, you want to get as close to you as possible.
Yes.
So they're being unsafe when they're doing that. So space heaters is by far one of our biggest issues that we have during this time of the year. So we recommend that if you have to use a space heater, first of all, make sure you don't plug it up with an extension cord because that wire on that space heater has a certain gauge of wire, and if you hook it up to an extension cord, it has a lesser gauge, and that creates a problem. Then we don't want you to put it too close to your bed, too close to your curtains or things like that. So anything that's combustible, keep it at least 3 feet away from that.
Absolutely. And now it's so cold outside. We like to use those space. Do you have a space heater?
I have one at work because it gets very cold. I think the AC is pumped from the basement up to you.
So where you work at?
In the basement.
Okay,
In the basement,
so we got to come over there and take a look at that and make sure you're okay.
I don't know what I was saying. No,
No, I'm just teasing.
I think it's about 3 feet from me.
Yeah.
And then it's got the little safety switch, so hopefully that works.
It does. That safety switch, if it trips over, somebody kicks it over, it goes off automatically. Most importantly, make sure you turn it off when you leave in the evening time. That's what's the biggest thing.
I even will sometimes go a step further because I get a little paranoid myself, and I've got a space heater in my office, and I will unplug it especially for the weekend or if I'm going out for a few days and I won't be in the office for a while, to just completely unplug it. I know that there is no possible way this thing is going to catch fire.
And you're doing the right thing because you've got power up to the switch. So you're doing the right thing by unplugging it. Absolutely. Great.
That's just the easiest way to do it.
Switches could always fail. Everything fails. So.
Exactly.
Right. That darn technology. Don't we love it?
Yes. As long as it's working.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Well, now another big thing is Christmas trees.
Yes, Christmas trees create a lot of problems. We want that live Christmas tree, but the biggest problem with the Christmas tree, a live Christmas tree, is if you don't water it. The branches get brittle and it's susceptible to fire. So you need to make sure that you always water that Christmas tree. You make sure you put the right type of lights on there. Indoor lights, not outdoor lights, and you want to make sure that those lights are not frayed because they could create a fire as well. We recommend you use the live tree is great. You got that smell, but if you can get an artificial tree, they can create issues too. So you want to make sure that artificial tree is fire resistant as well.
Right, absolutely. And I'm sure, AJ, have you seen these videos? I'm sure you have, Chief. How quickly those fires spread.
Yes.
They've got the mock living room with the tree in there, and they light the tree on fire, and it just shows how quickly that fire can spread. Talk about that a little bit.
Right, you got to think about, you talked about technology a moment ago. You just think about, what materials are made of now. We have a lot of hydrocarbons and materials now. So those things are very flammable. So you need to make sure that you keep your space heaters, keep your Christmas trees, because you were absolutely on point when you talked about how quick that goes up. And you're talking about 3 to 5 minutes, and you got a fully content fire, so you want to make sure that you take care of that.
It's like the trees were designed to be spaced just enough to get enough oxygen that it just rapidly combusts.
Yes. And another thing about trees, too, so if you get a live tree, you bring it from the outside. You don't want to bring it immediately to the inside of your home. Set it out in the garage for about 24 hours or 48 hours before you bring it in so it can be acclimated to the inside, because you could create some stress on that tree by bringing it inside too soon.
Okay.
Did not know that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will say this is the first year that I've actually have a house to decorate with lights and things like that. And we started to, put up all the decorations and we're plugging in the lights. And that was kind of the first moment I realized that there's a lot of electricity used during this time.
Yes.
I mean, when my dad did it when I was younger, you don't think anything about it. You're like, oh, great job, Dad. I love the lights.
It's because, you weren't paying the light bills. So
No, I wasn't paying the light bill. I know. Now I'm like, let's unplug this. Let's unplug that. Let's turn that off.
Even with LED lights on our house before we sold it, it was ridiculous. I didn't think I went too overboard, but the LED lights still draw a little bit of electricity, and I'm sure they still get a little bit of heat generated.
They do, so once again, you got lights, and you want to make sure that you inspect those lights so that they're not frayed. If they're frayed, then they could create shock, and they could be susceptible to fire. So you want to make sure that you take care of things like that.
Right. Do you see in the, I know you've only been here for only one Christmas so far.
Right.
But have you seen a lot of that happen here in Waco?
No, what we've seen here in Waco, you might have your chimney fire, and that's because we hadn't had that chimney clean prior to using it. And just like your furnace, if you got a furnace, you want to make sure that you have that clean before you use it. You could have a leak, carbon monoxide. But yeah, we have fires that are associated with the chimney, and we have fires that are associated with space heaters here in Waco. But that's throughout the country. That's why we send out that fire prevention tips messaging during this time of the year about how to space those around the space heaters.
So what would be the best way for somebody watching this to get those tips or subscribe to them? Is that something that's put in their water bill, or is there an online resource?
That's an excellent point you bring up about inserts in the water bill. We're looking at doing just that.
Okay.
But we're working with municipal information or communication and marketing as we put those messages out.
Perfect.
So something to be coming out between now and the next few weeks, hopefully.
And I'm sure if you get that information to Sierra, she could probably put something out there,
yes,
and I can
sure,
put it
with
out to
social
Crime
media.
Stoppers on social
Exactly,
media
yeah.
as well.
Just flood the market with that information. Yes,
Definitely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Something else I think might be good to talk about is a escape plan. If your home is on fire.
right. You want to always have two ways out. And you want to plan and practice that. Have a meetup place when you get outside, because a lot of times, people come out. And I'll give you a story. People, had a fire. The guy got out, but he didn't see his pet, and so he goes back in, but the pet found a way out. So
and that happens. I hear that happens quite
that
often.
happens quite often, So once you get out, you need to stay out. The other thing we need to talk about though is candles. How pretty they are, that open flame.
They smell so good.
They smell so good, but we need to make sure that we put those candles out before we go to bed at night. Use a battery-operated camera. It might not have that same look, but we recommend you use that battery-operated candle instead. But most importantly, you want to have smoke detectors, fire extinguishers in the event that you have a fire. You want to make sure that you have carbon monoxide detectors within your home. We don't think about those things.
No.
And replacing the batteries, not just unplugging it because it's annoying.
Because
Yes.
you're cooking and it makes that noise, you go up there and unplug that battery, disconnect that battery, and now you got an issue. So, yeah, we want to make sure that we take care of things like that. Absolutely. You guys have been through this before, it seems like. I don't know.
On the last recording we did, I may possibly have said something I shouldn't have about fire safety and prevention.
Mm-hmm.
I was not aware of the fact that you don't want to have a keyed lock on both sides of a glass door.
Oh, my God, yes.
See, I said something to the effect of, if you've got a glass door, make sure it's keyed on both sides.
Yes, yes. Just think about this. So you discover fire and you're trying to get out.
Yes.
And you get to that door. You're not really, you're trying to get out. And
Yes.
and that smoke will overcome you quickly.
Right.
And I'm telling you, I've seen, I hate to see fire deaths. I would never go in another house now where there's a fire death. I just don't want to see that ever again because I've done it throughout my career. But when you find people right at the door and you say, they were right there, how could they not have gotten out? Because they were disoriented because of the smoke, So you're right. You definitely don't want to have you want to have that twist boat. You want to have that boat, but you want to have it twist. You don't want to have a key on this side.
Definitely.
And you don't want to have those safety bars outside of your home.
Then you can't sneak out.
You can't
You don't
get
have
out.
a secondary exit.
You
like
know,
you mentioned.
if you want safety bars, put them inside those windows so that you can get out, right? If they're outside that window, you can't get out,
Right.
Right.
And how important is it to talk about these safety tips and evacuation plans for parents with their children?
It's very important, and that's why if you'd be amazed of the messaging that the kids take back home to their parents from school, because that's what we started. We started at the school level. They take that message back home to their parents, and what are you going to tell your 5 or 6 year old kid?
Right. No, we don't want to do that.
You don't want to do that.
No, of course we want to.
Of course we want to do it. So yes, we start at that level. They get that messaging back to their parents, and their parents discover that they definitely need a second way out. They need a meeting place. Everybody should go to a certain location.
Right. I will say, growing up with, like you said, it starts at school. We do fire drills all the time at school. We would do them, 3 times a year or more almost. And looking back at it now, I go, I've never done a fire drill at home.
Right.
And so it's very important.
It's very important that you practice. Practice makes perfect.
Right, right. And then, like you said, it prevents those people going in back for a pet or possibly.
Or just going back in for, everybody should be at a meeting. Once you get out, stay out. We teach them how to crawl below the smoke. Put your hand to the back of the door to make sure that it's not hot. If it is, you could put towels down or something. Go to your window, let the firefighters know where you are, so that we can come rescue you. But yes, that's critically important that we teach those messages.
Right. Absolutely.
One thing I like to add too, when you talk about, extension cords, I call them those. Do I need to say this on TV? Walmart type extension cords, a little 99-cent extension cords.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be careful how
Not
you use
getting the
them.
industrial strength, the right gauge, like you
Right.
mentioned.
If you got a multiple strip, don't plug no more than 3 electronics up to that device. You might see a multiple strip. You got 5 or 6 plugs in.
Right. Yeah.
You don't want no more than 3 plugged up to it.
Really.
Yeah.
It starts getting warm.
Starts getting
drawing too
warm.
much.
You feel that cord and you feel that heat. Guess what's happening inside that cord? The insulation is being broke down.
Right.
So when the insulation breaks down, then you got wiring. Then you set that catches on fire, and that's where your fire starts. Don't run your extension cords up on the rugs, because it insulates that heat from that cord, creates a fire. So, yeah.
Goodness, so many different tips and things to be aware of, especially during this time of year when people have so much going on inside and outside their home as well. Because people, I mean, I feel like that's where the most extension cords would be outside the home.
Right.
You get the
with Christmas
classic
lights and
Clark
things like
Griswold starts plugging 1,000 things in.
Yes.
He's got the 3 plug into a 3 plug into a
Right,
3 plug until it's just a ball.
Right.
And people have gotten pretty
Electrical
elaborate
danger.
with the music and everything.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a house, I think, across the street and around the corner from the PD that does that now.
Oh,
I saw
really?
a sign out front that said "Tune to this," and
Oh, that's so cool. Well, that's very cool.
if they're watching, hopefully they have not plugged in to the wrong extension cords and used an indoor power strip or something
Right.
dangerous like that too.
Right. Well,
Just be careful. Just take precaution, and don't leave those lights on all night.
Yeah.
You got to really make sure that you're not using an indoor wiring for outdoors, because the harsh weather conditions can create issues with that wiring if it's not the proper type. And you can look when you go pick up your wiring, it's going to say indoor, outdoor. One other thing I want to add too is, the holidays we do a lot of cooking.
absolutely.
So you need to be real careful with that. Don't leave your cooking unattended. And most importantly, if you have a timer on your oven, set a timer. If not, just don't leave it unattended. And do not use your oven as a heat source. It gets so cold in your house. People open that oven so it can warm up the house. Let's not do that.
Yeah, I've seen some people use their burners, and I'm like,
Right.
You've got a gas stove,
Right.
And you just have an open flame,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got a little 3-year-old running around that.
Yes.
Bad things could happen.
Bad things.
Yeah.
Protect. You talk about kids. You got the safety. You got the safety plugs for your outlets. Make that safe for your kids, because you don't want some kid, because we as children, we have curiosity.
They sure do.
Yes.
That's why they got those plug inserts, the
Right.
little plastic inserts.
Put those inserts in. You don't want your kid going with a fingernail file or a nail or something and sticking to that outlet. That's not going to be pretty. So let's do that.
Right. I think another great thing to touch on too is as we come through the holiday season, of course, we've got New Year's around the corner as
Yes.
well. And with New Year's comes those fireworks. We see a lot of those stands selling fireworks,
Right.
which they can because they are outside the city limits.
They are.
However, fireworks are illegal within Waco's city limits.
That is absolutely correct. You cannot discharge fireworks within the corporate city limits of Waco. So we need to stay away from that. We don't need to do that. We'll be out in force New Year's Eve, making sure that we have people comply with the law. Do not discharge fireworks within the city limits. Now, you can pick your fireworks up, drive through Waco,
Right.
but you can't possess them in the city of Waco.
Correct.
So do not stop. If you purchase them outside the city of Waco, do not stop in the city of Waco with your fireworks and get $5 worth of gas. Keep going till you get out of the city of Waco, because you can't possess them in the city of Waco.
Right. And we know we all like fireworks, right? They're
Yes.
fun. They're pretty to look at. They're exciting. But I wouldn't want to be the one that lights that off.
No.
I don't trust myself with that.
Yeah.
How easy is that to go,
It's very easy. Just think about it. You're sitting there, you got just say a firecracker. We want to light that firecracker and we want to hold it.
Oh, gosh, no.
Yeah, there you go. You're thinking that fuse. You don't know how long that fuse.
Right.
If you might think that, it's a pretty long fuse. Let me light it. Psst,
Yeah.
before you can throw it away. So
Could be drier than it's supposed to be
Exactly.
and goes faster than it's supposed to be. So even if
Exactly.
it's a X number of seconds fuse,
exactly. So we really recommend that if there's a commercial display, attend a commercial display and watch those fireworks.
Right,
Just
right.
like we had at the Wonderland here last week.
Yes.
That was gorgeous. It was beautiful.
Beautiful. Yeah, when they're regulated, and then, like you said, that those commercial fireworks, much better, much safer. And, of course, even when those happen, you guys are still on standby, I'm sure.
Still on standby every time. Of course, all that comes through the fire marshal's office.
Right.
The permitting, all of that. So, yes, we've got to have a fire truck and somebody on standby in the event that we might have an incident at that display, because we've seen that happen around the country as well.
yeah,
I'm
and I'm
sure.
sure there's a lot of planning that goes into that, where we pick up fireworks, we go light them in our backyard. We're not doing a plan to take into account what could happen, what could go wrong,
Right.
how to take care of what could go wrong. there's no contingencies. It's just I start a fire.
Right.
I have this thing that's now burning, and then it explodes.
Right.
You guys put a whole lot of prep work into that
is absolutely
needs
correct.
to be done. And on top of that, that's someone else has purchased those fireworks, and you guys aren't getting a ticket for doing that. So
You're right.
Maybe we can speak to you guys as wallets. Don't do it because the fireworks cost money, and then when we catch you, which one of us will,
Right.
you'll get a ticket from one, if not both of us,
Right.
for
Exactly.
whatever offenses are appropriate.
And we don't know what that fee is, do we?
I don't.
Yeah.
Not off the top of my head, I don't know the
It's
fee,
not
but I
worth
know
it.
it's a
Don't
fee.
do the
It's
math.
not good. It's not good.
Because see, when you go to pay and they said, I didn't realize it cost that much.
Yeah.
right,
We don't know what that much is.
right, exactly.
Right.
We know the buy one get 5 free is tempting,
Right.
but the ticket is much more higher than
Exactly.
that. Okay,
Yes.
Right. Right.
We don't want that. How closely does Waco PD and Waco Fire work for events like that, and especially on New Year's, maybe for those possible fires?
New
to
Year's, the
occur?
4th of July. I mean, we work hand in hand, I mean, it's really just one organization.
Hey, we
We're
work
talking-
together.
Exactly.
hand in
It's not just that. It's every day, But if you just scored a little bit higher on your test, you probably could have been a firefighter.
Oh, that's what they say. That's what
I
they
wasn't
say.
going to mention first responders status, but you opened the door. I was going to keep it civil, but
We're gonna have our first fight on on our podcast.
if I'd been smarter, I'd have taken your test. I didn't even score high. I didn't take it. I do love my job, for the record.
But yeah, we have a good working relationship,
Yeah.
and you got the banter that goes back and forth.
Yeah,
between
just like
fire and
that. Like
police,
that happens on every call.
Yeah.
Once whatever the chaos is calms down, like somebody's always joking about who's the first responder and who's the second responder.
Right.
But you guys are really good about not staging. Like I know that's the joke that goes around, but it's just incredible because sometimes we don't have anybody to send. You guys go and you're like, hey, like when PD gets here, we need them, but we got it for now.
We got to take care of it right.
Which I think is just great for the people because there's no, well, let's stage and wait for the scene to clear.
Yeah.
No,
Now,
like,
if it's a shooting now,
there
that's
are
different.
exceptions.
Yeah, there
absolutely,
are exceptions,
but,
right.
I mean, fortunately, there's only a couple of instances I can think of where you guys have staged and needed to stage, and
Right.
makes
right.
sense. But
I mean, regarding fires, can we talk a little bit more about how important that relationship is between police and fire?
Absolutely. You think about it, when we get to a fire scene, we need that assistance because we can't sit there and hope that somebody does not run over our fire hose. So we need that assistance from PD. If we've got an incident to where it might be an arson, until our investigator gets there, we'll need that type of assistance from PD. So it's always a hand-in-hand type relationship, regardless of what it is. On the interstate or on a roadway, when we got an accident, we got to have PD there.
well, we need to have fire there, especially on 35. I mean, there's nothing that made me feel more comforted and safe working a wreck on 35 than when I would see the big engine just
block the lane
perpendicular.
for you, right?
I was gonna
like
say
you
that,
guys
that big
park
engine
all the
blocking
way
the lane
across,
is
Yeah.
people get off. I don't have to worry about cars unless something has gone terribly wrong, and that's a whole nother story.
And that's awesome. That's totally awesome. I've had experiences in the fire service to where a state trooper would come up and say, "You need to clear this lane." I said, "Okay, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll clear the lane. We're gonna leave the scene with you, and then we're gonna take off.
Yeah.
You got to do patient assessment. You got to do all that. We're gonna leave." Because this guy was adamant, "Captain, you need to move this fire truck out. Clear my lane." I said, "Okay, we will."
Yeah, you'll get what you ask for.
Yeah, but guess what? He realized he really needed us.
right.
It's a relationship, and it's all about relationships. So we've got a good working relationship with law enforcement, and I think it's important. And after that incident, when his commander found out about it, it changed his whole outlook because he was like, "Wait a minute, the fire department is critical." Because you've seen incidents to where officers have been hit on side of the road.
Yeah.
That fire truck protects you from that.
Absolutely. It's definitely a relationship where we all need each other. We all play a
Exactly.
very, very important part, but we cannot do one without the other.
I agree with you
Same.
100%. Yeah.
Yes. Well, before we wrap this up, Chief, anything else we want to talk about as far as those fireworks safety, any sort of holiday safety, Anything you can think of we haven't touched on yet?
No, I think we really covered everything. I would end by saying, just make sure that you got your smoke detectors are working properly in your home. Make sure that they're working like they should work. Test them, check your battery once a month. And then, of course, there are 2 times of the year that we change our batteries out. Do not, when you're cooking that big Christmas meal and that smoke detector goes off, just open the door. It'll stop in a second, but don't disconnect the battery. Proper placement of smoke detectors is important. So if it's too close to the kitchen, then you probably need to move it, because it should be outside of each bedroom. Mm-hmm. That's where your smoke detector should be placed, outside of each bedroom.
Right. You don't want to give away your cooking skills, right, with all the smoke. And
No. You don't want to do that. Yeah. But I appreciate you guys inviting me here to talk about fire safety. I think it's critically important that we educate people on the importance of fire prevention tips because what I don't want as a fire chief, I don't want to get that call at night saying that we got a fire fatality because somebody didn't have a working smoke detector. So we want to make sure that we get that message out, and I appreciate you guys inviting me to spread that message. I really do.
Yes, that's what we are here for. So you guys, you've heard it here from Chief himself, is that, fireworks are illegal in city limits of Waco. Don't set them off. Make sure you've got, those working smoke detectors. What else did we talk about, AJ?
The electricity. Don't be going Clark Griswold with your Christmas lights. Be smart about it. Use the outdoor cords. Don't overload the plugs.
Right.
Let your tree rest in the garage. Come to some sort of acclimation temperature.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The 2 exits. That was a new one. I never thought about that, but that's very smart. You always have plan A, plan B, and then the contingency. Right.
So when you talk about 2 exits, so when you go anywhere you go from this day forward and to the audience, anywhere that you go, always look for that exit.
Smart.
If you go to the grocery store, always look for that exit. If you go to the movie theater, always look for that exit because you never know. It's not just fires that we're concerned about these days. You got active shooter events that happen throughout the country. So when you go somewhere, make sure that you see another way out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of already do that, but not for fire purposes.
Yeah,
so
we do that. We think about it from a public safety perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we think about that. I told my granddaughter the other day she was going to a playoff game, high school playoff game, big. I said, look, make sure you know another way out. Look, always be aware of your surroundings because you just never know.
Yes, that's right. Always better to be safe.
Yes.
Safe in any ways that you can. Well, Chief, thank you so much for joining us.
I appreciate it.
And thank you guys for listening in on Waco PD on the Beat. I'm Sierra Shipley, the Public Information Officer.
And I'm Officer AJ Smith, the Crime Stoppers Coordinator for McLennan County.
Have a good one, Waco.
Until next time.
Waco PD on the Beat. The heartbeat serving